Find the object tool, looks like a cube, and tweak your lines. Whee! You can erase like magic. Did you catch that just now? And you can click and drag. Hey, I'm Shyfoxx, and today we will be practicing our line art skills as I'm going to take you through a line art tutorial in pretty well real time so that you can learn and draw along with me, because we have previously to this tutorial, if you hadn't seen it, done a draw along on paper, because a lot of us when we're learning to make digital art feel most comfortable drawing on paper. So we've been doing a lot of draw along on paper videos to practice, and we can take a photo of it right over top and import that into our art programs. Now, this was the sketch of our Okami fox. I believe the correct name would be Chibiterasu, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm gonna call this our Okami fox. And we sketched this, and now we're gonna do a line art draw along with it. So bear with me, as this is the first line art tutorial walkthrough that I've done with you guys. And so it might be long, but the goal is that because it's in real time, there's gonna be so much information, lots to learn. And if you're new to digital art, that's kind of like my target audience with this, to help new people transition from traditional mediums like sketching to digital. So I am sitting here in Clip Studio Paint, which if you don't have a paint program, or maybe you are going to be using Clip Studio Paint, I have a tutorial on Clip Studio Paint basics that really gives you an overview of the program. So before you even start painting, that's going to be like a kind of a must-watch video to give you, a good understanding of what is going on before you even start painting. And then once you've seen that and maybe checked out my layer tutorial as well, I'll do a little playlisty thingy on the top right for Clip Studio Paint guides if you can make use of that. And then maybe now we are ready to get going. So there we go. Video intro done. Let us begin painting. I guess this is less painting and more line arting. So I went ahead and, I mean, I could have taken a photo of it, but I sketched our Okami fox a couple of times just because I wanted to get it the way I wanted it to look. So we did a good job for the tutorial. I'm happy with this outcome, and maybe you're working with that as well. It looks almost the same anyway. There's like very slight differences. But my best version, I feel like, was this digital one. And so we're gonna get rid of, because we're gonna get rid of these lines that I had included. Ours should look something like this. As we took a photo of it and put it into our program, we can open it in our program. And just an important note, it may help you to brighten up your image depending on the quality of the photo you took of it. If you click on the layer that is your photo and go File, and not File, let me get this right, Edit, Tonal Correction, Brightness and Contrast, and that will bring up a little slider menu where you can brighten it up. Mine's of course got a white background already, so you can brighten it, make it much easier to draw over top of. But we're gonna turn the opacity slider down so that it's faded out anyway, so that whatever we do over top of it is gonna be very clearly easy to see, because our lines underneath are so faint. So this is our sketch layer. I'm gonna do myself a favor. I like to color code. My sketch layer is gonna be yellow. I don't know if you caught that. It's yellow. I'm gonna delete this layer underneath that we no longer need, so the only layer I have in here is my sketch layer so far. Now, layers are complicated. I like to organize. You'll find I'm an organized person. So I'm gonna make a new folder. So new folder, I have buttons for that down here and hotkeys as well. So folder, and I'm gonna make a vector layer. Vector layers are kind of the key to line art in Clip Studio Paint, and kind of, in my opinion, critical and so very useful. So I'm gonna create a vector layer. Looks like a little cube. You can always go layer, new vector layer. And so I have a vector layer inside my folder, and I'm gonna choose the pen tool. So from my pen tool, I'm gonna change my brush size. What size do I want to begin with? Kind of figure out what size we want to go with. And I like to start with the eyes. All right, now if you're like, whoa, what the heck, Shyfoxx? How did you make those lines so smooth and slowly with no wobbles? Well, let me tell you then. Let me tell you how I did it. The key with this is your stabilizer. So we're using our pen tool right now, and there is something called stabilizer. And if I were to go to my pen tool, and I look for in our subtool or our tool property palette right here. If you don't have it, window, tool property, check it on, find it, and stabilization. And I like to, it's funny, the top setting, like if you slide it, the default setting is 15, which doesn't make sense to me because it goes up as high as 100. So to override the max apparently of 15, with my particular drawing tablet, I like it at 70. On my iPad, I think I have it at like 40. It's just different sensitivities with the different drawing tablets. That's just the way it is. So figure out what feels good. It's a feeling, and it's practice, of course. That's what we're doing. So stabilizer, I've got mine at 70. If you don't see that, I've got you covered as well. Click on the little settings wrench button and look for correction, and make sure your eyeballs are turned on for the stabilization setting. Or you don't have to turn it on. You can just come and change it in here as well. These are your subtool detail options where you can edit your individual tool. You're editing individually each one of these. They have their own settings. So I've got this one. So I did my eyes, and I'm actually going to go ahead and color in. That's not how we do this. How do we do this? Fill bucket. Paint unfilled area. Refer to editing layer. Oh, I forgot a very important step. So I preemptively like to color in my eyes, and instead of like coloring it in with the pen tool, because vector layers are weird and it's sometimes hard to like fill in sections with vector, we can set the folder with all our vector layers in it, and this one ultimately, to this button, reference layer, click. Okay, click that, and that makes our fill bucket tool know that we're gonna fill in our picture, our painting, based on the lines we've created in the folder set as reference layer. And our fill bucket tool over here is set to not fill canvas, but refer only to editing layer. And it is important that refer to multiple is checked with reference layer lighthouse button. So just make sure your settings look something like this. The tolerance may need to be slid up or down based on how sensitive it's being to the lines that you drew. So I'm going to go ahead and fill bucket that in. And so that's kind of a good tip for coloring. You'll save a lot of time coloring. That's going to go into coloring tutorials that we do ultimately, but you got that pro tip right now. You can only fill bucket on raster layers, aka normal layers. Vector layers do not let you fill bucket. If I tried, it's like, no, you cannot. All right, back to lining. I've got my eye outline. I colored them in. I'm just going to merge these together. You merge a vector into a normal layer, and they become a normal layer. It doesn't stay a vector layer. So anyways, I'm happy with that. And I basically am gonna, it's easy from here on with layers in terms of we are only, I guess, I'm only gonna use one other layer for everything else. I just like to do my eyes on a separate layer. It's just my thing. You don't have to do it that way. So I'm gonna pick a thinner brush and start lining this in. And so because this is a draw along line work artwork, I'm gonna just kind of teach you things as we go. So I gave you kind of the basics of getting started, and I'm just going around my artwork. Control Z really quick to undo. My left hand is on my keyboard ready to undo. If you're on iPad drawing, you can double tap the screen, should be the default to undo. It's funny how I can just kind of transition back and forth and know exactly, am I double tapping or am I left hand control Zing? It's like I've had so much practice that I don't even have to think about it. And that's, I guess, one of the points I was gonna make, is that it might be all of this. All of it is gonna be difficult at first. All of it, okay? It's gonna take time. You're gonna be like, Shyfoxx, you're going so fast. Like, I barely even know what's going on. I mean, pause the video, go back, listen to me again. I don't want to make the video too long, so I'm trying to cover all my bases. But you can take your time, you know, processing what I got in the video. And that's why we're also going to do more than one of these draw along line art tutorials, so that hopefully over time, more of it's going to sink in. Undo, undo. I'm not happy with that. Slower, maybe. Try again, maybe. Go the other way, maybe. That actually worked a little better. I like that better. Ooh, I'm going to show you another trick. Because these are vector layers, that makes line arting so much easier. So much easier. You can find your object tool. Ultimately, it looks like a cube. So object tool, and from here you can tweak. Find the object tool, looks like a cube, and tweak your lines. Whee! It's so nice. I use it all the time. I'm like, ooh, this curve, it was so close. It was so close. And if I try to redraw it, I don't think it's going to be as close. So that you get your object tool out. Maybe you need to tweak the angle of the ear. So useful. So get that object tool out to tweak your lines. And we're going to keep going. I'm thinking I want to do a different thickness for all of them. I'm drawing a little thick right now. I'm not loving it. Back to the old object tool, and all the lines on the layer that we're doing right now will get tweaked if I find brush. See this? Whoa! Wait, can you see anything? Is anything happening? Okay. This is making my computer work really hard. Okay, can you see that I'm changing the thickness of the lines? Oh, they're like virtually not showing. How thick do we want them? I don't even remember what they were at before. Let's just decide. I like the 8. I'm gonna make it the size 8. Clipsito paint is the best. I can change my mind. All right, carrying on, size 8. Whee! Thanks to their stabilization tool, that's a really smooth action. I can pick my line up, and you see there's slight overlap here. We zoomed way in. I can either move it or erase it. I'm looking, because I changed my brush size, you might find that because I went smaller, the errors in my lines at different sizes are now showing clearly. So I'm gonna just pick those up. Isn't that just like magic? And I'm zooming in and out looking for the things I need to fix. Woo! Okay, so fun. All the fun you can have. Let's carry on. Do one of those. I'm actually going to connect these. Now's a good time to teach another trick. Find your eraser tool. Find your... Where's my vector erase tool? It's all the way down here. I want it up here. Okay, so my vector erase is a special eraser for vector layers, aka line work layers specifically. And my settings are as follows down here, but basically you want it set to intersection. It's pretty much the one I always keep it on, so that when two lines intersect, you can erase like magic. Did you catch that just now? Hopefully. You'll see me use it again. So let's continue. Oh, I said I was using size 8. I'm not going to change this. Honestly, if you use some of these tools, you'll go from like hating line art to like kind of loving it. I love it. I think it's so satisfying. I say we in my head, but because I'm, you know, recording a thing, I'm now saying it out loud. My apologies. Let's carry on. So cute. This character is so cute. I've been like dying to draw this character forever, and I felt like I never really had a reason until I started doing draw along videos, and now it's like, wow, I have a reason to draw all these characters. So if you have other character suggestions you'd love to do within a draw along with me, then let's do it. Comment to give me ideas and suggestions. I am taking all the suggestions as I am brainstorming. Okay. Now, it can be difficult to draw your lines if you zoom in too much. Like if you zoom super far, you're gonna have to move your whole arm, which isn't bad. I mean, a lot of the time they'll say use your whole arm when you draw, and I feel like there's a lot of truth to that. But sometimes it's nicer to be in a more tight space for your hand to move. So you'll kind of get used to what's comfortable. Maybe it is comfortable to zoom all the way in about that far and draw. I remember when I was learning to draw, I was very much zoomed in, and that's okay. Another trick I want to show you. Another line art trick. Ooh, eraser, boop. I want to show you is let's say you suck so bad at lines and you're like, I'm about to give up. Don't give up. It's going to take practice, but I got you covered because there is a line tool that will make the line smooth and nice for you. You just have to tell it where you want the line to go. So find the continuous curve tool, which is a line tool. And your tool palette may look different, so you might have to kind of like go looking for it. My apologies that it's not exactly the same as mine. Clip Studio Paint's very customizable, but if you can find your way to your line tools, they have like shapes in here. Find the continuous curve, and I'm gonna set it to size 8 to make sure they're the same roughly. And you can click and drag, is that the word? I guess drag your cursor around and then tap the screen where you want it to go. And the other best part is, there's so many best parts. The other best part is you can pick up the lines and move them around. Now, how do we do that? I have a tool, you will have a tool as well, and it is called Control Point. So look for your Control Point tool. It's going to be in one of your tools here. It's in one of your subtools, and where it says, I usually have it on Add Control Point because you can move and add at the same time, so you can just like adjust them. So you're like, ooh, it wasn't quite right, move. Unfortunately, a downside to regular lines and then like drawing a non-continuous curved tooled line, like just drawing it out and then trying to use the points, is you get a bajillion points that to actually make tweaks looks like garbage. So I almost never use that tool in combination with regular drawing, but sometimes it's just nice to have the ability to tweak the odd thing when you have a very specific tweak you need to make without redrawing and you've been using your continuous curves. So the control point to move or add control points is super useful. So we're making our way around, and I apologize if you're drawn along with me. Being able to keep up is going to be dependent on your own skill set, but pause button, it's not like this is a live stream, so that's good in terms of being able to keep up with me. Okay, I didn't really sketch a line in there, so I gotta figure out where I want that to kind of go. Okay, I missed something here. Boop. Get the look we want. I'm gonna actually make the mouth on its own layer because I think I'd like it to be thicker. I'm gonna try size 15. Wee. Not quite right. Wee. How's that? No. Could get my continuous curve out if I wanted. Oh, screwed up. We'll get it right this time. Okay, I'm surely not doing it right. Okay, let's adjust it to our satisfaction. Good enough, and I do think I like the thickness. A nice tool and useful with mouths is, let me find it. Which tool am I thinking of? Correct line width. So if you can find the correct line width tool, you have the option to thicken and narrow and then some other options. Let's just focus on thicken and narrow. I'm gonna pick narrow, and I would like the middle of the mouth to start narrowing, and I'm gonna make this a higher setting. Check that out. Mouths often have this look. Have you seen it like in anime arts and other things where the middle of the mouth is just like disappears? or doesn't disappear as thinner. I'm gonna go with that look. I like it. And just a note, if you use the eyeball and turn off your sketch layer, which I did set to yellow, you can kind of get a sense of, ooh, how this is looking without the sketch underneath. So I like the way that looks. Sometimes you got to see it without to be like, I like the way that looks. But maybe we don't know if we like it yet until we draw the nose in, because sometimes you need the context of the other shapes. Back to the layer I was working on. With all my other lines, I was doing a size 8. And with different sensitivities and canvas sizes, you might find that you need to, I got my object tool here. I'm just drawing while talking. Object tool and adjust. You might need to do different sizes of brushes than me. I didn't talk about canvas sizes, but I would say in general, if your canvas size is fairly big, bigger than 1000 by 1000, not bigger than 5000 by 5000 pixels, DPI between 90 and 300. 300 is pretty high. 90 is probably just fine for our purposes. Cool, so let's do a new layer. Oh, I have a couple lines I want to add in. Just kind of, these are like fur lines as I'm describing them. Lines where there was like indication of flowing fur. So there we go. That's all I wanted to do there. We don't have the markings done for our Okami fox, and I'm going to make a new layer. I am going to pick a thinner line and I want to use that to do the rest. So the outline of the eyes is one of the places where we're going to see the difference. The difference, can I re-say that? My brain was like doing two things at once. Where we're gonna have markings. See, this is kind of like a live stream experience. AKA don't edit the video much. My apologies. You're just gonna have to deal with my derpy personality where mistakes are made, but how real would I be if I edited out all the mistakes? See what I did there? We all make mistakes. Been thinking about coming up with some kind of like hashtag for the community that's like imperfect art community unite, and something along the lines of, here's my artwork, maybe unrelated to my own teaching, and here's my artwork and it's imperfect, and that's what we expect because we're not perfect and our art's not perfect and we're So working on that idea. I've got a new thing to show you. That is a good idea. Oh, I just had a sudden inspiration. Can I just follow that? Going back to my other layer with all these lines on it, I would like to make like fur. Aw. Doesn't that look cute? Okay, optional. Add that if you like. Great. Erase these like lines that are intersecting. Perfect. Back to the layer that has our markings going, and I had it at a size 6. This circles are hard, and when it comes to line art, if you want like a perfect circle, sometimes we do. There's a tool for that. There's an app for that. No, there's a tool for that. Where is it? I'll find it. Who is this person giving a tutorial and doesn't know where the circle tool is? I found it. So look for the ellipse tool. I'm gonna make it a size 6. And if you hold shift, if you're on PC anyway, it's gonna make it a perfect circle. Off the top of my head, I don't know the keybind. You can drag over from the side the little menu that brings up like shift, so you could just pull that open and just like try and hold it. Good luck. Okay, so I'm making a perfect circle. Oh, I have to hold shift. Perfect circle. And I'm even gonna duplicate that layer because I'm lazy. Oh no, I can't duplicate that layer. I have to select it. I'm just using my lasso tool. I use that a lot, mostly in coloring, but I'm gonna use it now. Copy that. It's on a new layer. Shrink it down. If you're like, what did you just do? Just make a new circle inside the other one and use the object tool to move it. You can literally move and click and pick up entire lines if you want to without like distorting them. So anyway, mine's there. Got that far with it. And I'm gonna take my pen again and just do this shape, and I'm gonna make it overlap a little bit. And am I gonna make it overlap? Yes, I am. I'm gonna erase where they intersect. Oh, the layers have to be merged together, all of these together, for me to actually be able to use the erase, probably. Why is my vector erase not working? It is a mystery. It's sort of working. What did I break? Okay, close enough. Sometimes tools just don't work the way you expect and you get really confused. Yeah, that happens to me. How does that look? Pretty good. Did we miss anything? Just here, we're gonna go whoop. Yep, and one here. One final thing I'd like to show you today before we call this thing done. I'm gonna turn off our sketch layer. This is pretty well what our line work layer looks like. I'm just gonna fill bucket the nose there. And the final thing I want to show you is a really cool trick. So the layer that has all of our external lines, because they do happen to be all together. You could also merge them together and get that, but we need it to be a vector layer. I'm going to create a copy of it, move it below. I've got a purpose for it, but before I fulfill that purpose, I'm going to make a new layer, and I am going to select. Oh, this is our reference layer. Refer to editing layer. Good. Select, and it's going to select around the whole outside. Did it select around the whole outside? Sometimes there's little holes and you need to like click them. It actually did, and then I'm going to invert it, and I'm going to fill bucket tool it on this layer, or on the inside. Okay. And I'm going to do it like that. I'm actually going to make it lighter. There. I don't know if you can tell, or maybe for demonstration purposes, I'll do it darker. And then the reason for this is because of, normally we would color, like we would fill this in with color, but for the purposes of this line art teaching point, I'm just going to fill that in as if we'd colored it. So we created a copy of our line work. If I turn off our folder with lines, we have this that exists. So noting the order of our layers, right? We turn them on. We want to find our object tool again and adjust the brush size. This is an art style of mine. I prefer to have a nice, thick, bold edging. We do that in our sketches too, to that outside. And that only works if we have the layer pulled underneath, and if the coloring is in between in a sandwich, you have top lines, which are all the ones we drew, color in the middle, and then our border lines at the bottom underneath everything. So my border lines are at the back. Perfect. And I also like to emphasize certain lines. I guess I have another final teaching point. Great, let's discuss that. If we go to back to our correct line width tool, I like to thicken. We have to be on the right layer. Are we on the right layer? Yep. The one with all the main lines. I like to thicken many of the lines that we have, so I just try and select the one that I want to thicken. So I'm trying to thicken the chin line. The other way to do that more successfully sometimes is to find the object tool, click the line, and then thicken it independently of the other ones. So see how that thickened all by itself because I had clicked it. Is there anything else I want to thicken? No, I think that looks good. Now we're gonna call it done. So we finished our line art. Really good job if you followed along with me or learned something today. There will be future draw along line art tutorials like this one, as well as coloring. I will do a coloring tutorial of this, I think, as well, so that I can teach you my coloring process. And there are many different ways to go about coloring. I think a much wider way to do coloring. So I will show you that. And be sure to subscribe, like, comment. You know, I've given you a whole list of things to do, and to add to that, I have a question of the day. That's a pinned question in the comment section of this video if you want to answer the question. And with that, I hope you got something useful out of this tutorial. Hope your art's looking good, and I'll catch you guys in another video. See you later. Bye guys.